Hello YouTube, in this video we are going to be installing OPNsense. First thing you guys are going to want to do is install the VGA image. A few things that you're going to need for this are going to be the OPNsense image, WinRAR or WinZip, as well as Rufus. So I went ahead and installed the OPNsense image and extracted it. But once you install it, to extract it using WinRAR, you just double click it and click extract, and that'll extract it to a different folder. So I can go to where it extracted it now. In this, here it is. So cool. What I'm going to want to do is select the image. So I'm going to go back and select this IMG image. Rufus will show as ready. Um, Thing to note, when you format this drive, you're going to lose everything on your drive when this runs through, so make sure there's nothing important on it or you make a backup of it. Even when you hit start, it says this will destroy any data on the target. I'm going to click OK. For this, you're going to need at least a 4 GB flash drive. I'm way overkill for 128, but that's all I could find laying around, so that's what I'm going to use. So once this is going to take a good bit of time, so once that's done, we will be back. Okay, so that took 2 minutes on the dot to complete, but your mileage may vary with that. So I am going to eject the flash drive and insert it into the device I'll be installing OPNsense onto. Oh, I don't want to check that. I don't even know why that showed up. Cool. Okay, in order to do an installation on this, when you log in, when the login prompt comes up, you're going to want to type installer, and then the password is going to be OPNsense, and that will get you into the installer. If I can type, oh, okay, OPNsense. Okay, and this will open the installation, and that's what we're going to go through now. We're just going to want to use the default key map. That should be fine. We're going to run ZFS, should be fine. We don't have RAID in here, so Stripe is fine. I have a 256 gig Kingston SSD, so that's what we will be installing it onto. Wait, cancel, change selections. You hit space to select. Okay. It's going to destroy everything on this drive. Well, there's nothing. It's brand new. So yes. And now it's going to start installing. Cool. We will be back when that's complete. Okay, after that's completed, you're going to want to change the root password. So I'm going to click enter here. Awesome. So we went ahead and set that, and we're going to wait for the rest of it to go. We're going to just do complete installation, reboot now. Cool. And I already see an issue because we're going to have a confliction on 192.168.1.1. Cool. I'll be back once this reboots, and we're going to go ahead and change the IP on this thing because it's going to definitely cause me problems. Okay, now that she started back up, you log in with root and the password that you set. As you can see, I have two interfaces it's showing, IGB1 and IGB0. So so now that that's booted up, we are going to configure our firewall. I already have a configuration on it. but we're going to redo that just because the way I configured it before on camera for you guys was just bad. So let's get into it. Shot 2. So when it boots up, you're going to get a screen just like this. I'm going to want to assign interfaces. LAGGS is link aggregation. We do not want to configure that, so I'm going to type no. It always comes up twice for some reason. The WAN interface I want to configure is going to be IGB0. And in a second, I'll show you how I have everything plugged in. So that's going to be IGB0. We don't want this, so we're just going to hit enter. Okay. And then we're going to do optional interface 1 is going to be IGB1. Okay. And then nothing. So yeah, this is going to set WAN to IGB0 and my optional interface to IGB1. I'm going to hit Y. Cool. And I lost connection. Okay, so once that came back up, I'm gonna do set interface IPs. Even though they're already set, we're just gonna go through it. So 1 is gonna be for WAN. And do you want to configure the WAN interface with DHCP? In my case, I'm going to press yes. I don't want DHCP v6. Enter the new WAN IPv6 address. I don't want an IPv6 address, and then I'm going to want to set an IP address to my LAN interface. So I'm going to hit 2. And this for you is going to show up as IGB1, not IGB1, it's going to come up for you as OPT1, but mine comes up WAN because I renamed it. Okay, now I'm going to enter my IPv4 address, and this is going to be 10.0.10.0.1.1. Okay, and then I'm going to do a prefix of 24. Okay, enter the new. Okay, I'm not configuring WAN, and I don't want DHCP v6, and I don't want IPv6. No, 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 no. Okay, cool. So I went ahead and I set these two interfaces up. So that's pretty good. And what I have left to do is configure VLANs. So is it going to let me from here? Probably not. Cool. So now I just got to go into the web GUI and I will be configuring VLANs. I will be right back. Okay, so now that I have set the interface on that, I'm going to go ahead and set on my computer here, point to that interface of the LAN. So I plugged my computer into the LAN port, and we are going to go into Network and Sharing Center. Okay, I'm going to double click on Ethernet, Properties. Oh, it's already set. Cool. So that's what I need. Oh no, it's set for 2.1. We need to set this for 10.0.1. That's going to be fine. And the gateway is going to be 1.1. Cool. So now when I go into Chrome, I can open 10.0.1.1. Okay, I had to swap my patch, and now I'm in. So now I can go to, first thing I want to do is add the VLANs. I have two VLANs that I want to add. So I'm going to click Interfaces, and then I'm going to click Devices, VLAN. This guy's already here. We're going to delete him and re-add him. Okay. So I want to add device. I want this to be on IGB1, and I want this to get a VLAN tag of 10. I'm just going to leave the priority to default for now. And then I'm going to call this VLAN 0.10. For some reason, OPNsense makes you label them like this, so I'm going to label VLAN 10 with VLAN 0.10, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I'm going to apply that setting. And I also want another VLAN, and this is going to be also on the IGB1 network, and this is going to be VLAN 0.20. Okay, so VLAN tag is going to be 20. So now I have two VLAN interfaces, but I have to configure them as interfaces. So if I click Interfaces Assignments, so you can see in this little drop down, you now see VLAN 0.10 and VLAN 0.20. So I'm going to hit Add to both of them. Cool. And then an op2 is VLAN 10. First thing I want to do is name this to VLAN 10 so I know what it is. Enable the interface. And essentially this is your routing for your VLAN, just from your router to your VLAN. We don't need this to be, this could be a 30. So my static IP address of this is going to be 10.0.2.2/30. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And this is going to enable this interface for VLAN 10. I'm going to apply changes. Like you could have this whatever you want it to be. So we'll leave it at 24 since the network is at 24. Keep good practice. And then we can click opt3, which is going to be my VLAN 20. So I'm going to do VLAN 20, enable interface, static, and we are going to assign this 10.0.30, no, 10.0.3.2.24. Okay. Apply. So now that that worked, I'm going to go ahead and switch back my patch cable and see if the internet works. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, that's working. But before I do that, we're going to turn on SSH, which is already enabled, but I'll show you how to do that. And we only want to be able to access SSH via and the web interface via certain VLANs. So we can go ahead and do that. Okay, I went and switched my patch back, and we're going to go ahead and click here, Ethernet. We're going to change manual to automatic. I can't do that. We didn't set up DHCP yet. Do DHCP server with forwarding helper packets. Forwarding helper IPs. So we want to set helper IPs on the switch. I can show you what that looks like. So the way DHCP works, it is dynamic host configuration protocol. Essentially, your device sends out a broadcast message. So my computer is going to send a broadcast message out. Hey, I need an IP address. The next thing is the DHCP server says, hey, I have an IP address for you. Here's the IP address. and then I say, okay, I like that IP, and then I acknowledge it, and the server acknowledges that, so that completes that little handshake. DORA. So it's discover, offer, request, acknowledge. Cool. With that being said, notice how I said it was a broadcast. So it's going to broadcast it across the VLAN you're on. So it's going to say, I'm on connected to this VLAN. It can't send nothing is going to be able to see it past 2.1 since it's a broadcast message. Well, we will not be able to receive an IP. So in order for me to receive an IP, I would have to have something in place that's going to forward that traffic to my DHCP server. So we add what we call as a IP helper. So it's a DHCP helper address that essentially will say, hey, this interface it listens for the broadcast, and then the helper moves to the next section. So this would be OPNsense, and said, hey, uh, you know, there's a helper. It's requesting. Says, hey, I'm a helper. Do you have any DHCP addresses? It hands it, and then it's just an extra layer in between. It's kind of like a man in the middle, give or take. So I am going to want to do int VLAN 10, and then I'm going to do IP helper address 10.0.1.1. We didn't set up the DHCP server up yet, but we're going to set it up with DHCP masquerading. Same thing as like a DNS masquerading. It just helps forward your packets to the right place. So I can set up multiple DHCP servers, and then on different interfaces. So I can set up one on interface 10, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, so on and so forth. Cool. So I'm going to put IP helper address 1.1, and that should get me going. So now I'm going to go into OPNsense, and we are going to go into system, and then I want to go interfaces. I'm going to close that. Oh, it's going to be under services. Wow. And then it's going to be DNS, MASQ, and DHCP. So I have multiple DHCP ranges set up, but we're going to go ahead. I'm going to keep 20, and I'm going to keep VLAN 10 and delete 20 in WLAN. I don't need WLAN anymore. So to set these up, it's relatively simple. So this is setting up a DHCP server in a specific VLAN. So I'm going to click VLAN 20, and this is going to be tag set. Oh, I don't need a tag here. And then in here, I'm going to do 10.0.30.30. So I'm going to do 30 through 200. That leaves me some room for static IPs on both sides of the range. And we're going to add a domain. So I'm going to add jakebuildsit.com. Not really needed. So anyway, we added the VLAN 20, jakebuildsit.com. Cool. And we're going to add a different VLAN, a different domain. This is just, just for funsies, right? So we're just adding a domain for funds. And here, I'm going to call this domain let's break it.com, or we can do .local, doesn't matter. So let's break it.local. Cool. So now that I have applied those settings, another thing we're going to want to do is a DHCP option. So by default, your DNS server and your router will be the interface in OPNsense. So since I set the VLAN 10 interface to 10.0.2.2, both by default your DNS inside, like the DNS records that it gives you, as well as the router is going to be different. It's going to be the 10.0.2.2, what have you. So I already have this guy in place, but we're going to set one for the other network. What's cool is if you want it to override all settings, what like we did here, I'm going to hit edit here. So we can set the interface to any. We're going to set the DNS server, and then I added two values. I added my local DNS server as well as the Cloudflare DNS. So then I gave it a description, DNS override for DHCP. And this is going to override for all DHCP ranges you have set up here, which is pretty cool. And then I'm also going to want to add another one for my other VLAN, right? And this is going to be a gateway override. So like your default gateway settings. So if you do ipconfig, as you can see, the connection specific DNS, see that got set, but the default gateway setting is 2.1. If you don't change this, you're going to get the default gateway of 2.2, and I'll do an ipconfig/all. Okay, and it gives me more information than I need. But as you can see, the default gateway by default would be something like that if you don't override it. But yeah, the DHCP server is 2.2, but that's just the DHCP server is 2.2 because that's the interface of the router that we're hitting. So when you use the helper IP, all the traffic that comes tagged across the network into the DHCP server can now say, I want to give you this IP and you this IP, so on and so forth. So that is pretty cool. That's kind of how that works. And then we can do specific overrides, or we can override everything. So we're going to want to also do a gateway override for VLAN 10 because we want to use, since we have inter VLAN routing set up, we want to use the switches routing to get me here so that everything just magically works. There's a lot going on under the hood, but we're getting everything we need to do. So here I'm going to type in, it's going to be one of the first couple, and it's router. And I'm going to set this address to 10.0.3.1, which is the default, which is the interface and the switch of VLAN 20. So when you hit this interface, it'll route you where you need to go. So we did 2.1 for VLAN 10, and we did 3.1 for VLAN 20. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, apply. And now we're going to go ahead and try to pull an IP address. So we're going to go here, properties, IPv4. I was already obtaining automatically. So now we grabbed an IP address. But to show you that all these settings we just put in work, we're going to do a release and a renew. So I'm going to do ipconfig/release. And then I'm going to do a renew. So that just said, I don't want that IP, I want a new one. And as you can see, let's break it.local, that setting we updated, it got updated. I say let's break it.local because my girlfriend really doesn't like it when I play with the router and break stuff while she's trying to watch YouTube or play video games. So, it's fun, but it has to happen sometimes. So yeah, with that being said, that is a basic configuration in OPNsense. And the last thing that we're going to want to do is block access from WAN. Now, there's two things that you're going to want to do. Because after you set this up, the firewall is going to have a default block everything, right? So we want to change that. We want to allow access to the internet. So one thing that I like to do, so if I hit firewall, aliases, here, I make an alias for private networks. So I include 10.0.0.0/8, 172.16.0.0.12, and 192.168.0.0/16. So this is all the possible private network IP ranges you can have. So I named it RCF 1918 private ranges because I know I don't really care. Okay, so now we can hit apply. We're going to want to create a couple rules. We're going to allow local and non-local traffic in the firewall. So we're going to click rules here. And this rule is going to be for LAN. And we're going to delete what I have here. By default, you have an implicit deny on all for this. My private networks, no matter what I set, to get out to the internet, which they currently do, but I had that previously set up, and I want to show you guys how that's done. So I'm going to click WAN. I'm going to delete both of these guys, and that's going to block all traffic to the internet. You can see why my girlfriend sometimes gets mad when I do this, but she doesn't really get mad. It's just annoying. She gets like annoyed with it. So now no traffic is getting out. Awesome. And we are going to create a new rule. And we're going to make this pass. We're going to make the source private networks because we don't want to open it up way too much. We just want to open up private networks inbound and outbound. Destination is going to be any. Awesome. Okay, cool. And we're going to hit save. So from the source private networks, any incoming traffic is allowed in. And then we're also going to create a rule. We're going to apply changes. Okay. For private networks, any outbound traffic. So we're going to do pass, direction out, IPv4, protocol, any. And we're going to do source private networks. See, the reason I did this is you would have to individually select all the interfaces. But if I just include an alias for everything, it makes it a lot easier to configure. So later down the line, anytime I want all private networks to allow access out. However, if there's networks that if you don't want to have everything out, then we have to if you want a subnet that you don't want out, we'll have to dial that down. Cool. But realistically, all we would have to do is move the order. So we wanted like a specific subnet not to get out. We would put the subnet ahead of these rules, and it wouldn't be able to communicate out or in or however we set it. So, and then you can only allow specific traffic from that subnet in and out, and you can get really cool with this. So this is essentially, OPNsense is great because it's like a firewall and it's your router. It's all combined, and you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. So this is just the basics. Rowdy. You can see this is the ISP connection coming in here, right off the ISP modem. And then I have going into my patch panel there, right? So I have the top port IGB1. That has my internet coming in, and then this is my internet going into my switch. So you can see it go into the patch panel and go into port 48 on the switch. And then I have port 47 connected to my access point. And this isn't doing anything at the moment because that was going to be an IoT access point. And then these are my two ports into my room, and I broke the freaking clip off of that. But yeah, so that's how it looks down here.